So this video is for my daddy. I hope you feel better soon, Dad. This is the story of Rumpelstiltskin. There once lived a miller with his daughter. When the miller was at work all day turning grain into flour, he loved nothing more than to talk up tall tales to amaze people. One day the king came into town. He heard the miller talking about his daughter. The miller was saying his daughter was the most amazing girl in the village, if not in all the land. "You there," said the king, "what is so amazing about your daughter?" The father bowed and said, "Your Majesty, my daughter is so clever that—" and he paused for a moment to think of an appropriate tall tale to tell and impress the king. "She is so clever she can spin straw into gold." "Spin straw into the gold," said the king. "That is amazing. She must come to my palace. I will put her to the test." "But, well," said the miller, who wished he had not told the king such a thing. But now it was too late. So the miller's good, sweet daughter had to go to the king's palace at once. The king took her to a room piled with straw from the floor to the ceiling. He pointed to the spinning wheel in the middle of the room and said, "Now get to work. If by morning you have not spun the straw into gold, you will be put to death." The daughter tried to explain that her father was merely jesting and telling tall tales, but the king would not listen and slammed the door and locked it behind him. The girl was left all alone, and for the life of her she did not know what to do. She could not spin straw into gold. "What will I do?" she called into the air. "No one could do such a thing." Just then a little odd man walked from behind the straw, all clad in purple and bells. "Did I hear you say no one?" he said. The girl was shocked and said, "What? Where did you come from?" "Oh, never mind that," said the little imp. "What matters is I could save your life, for a price, of course." "You can spin straw into gold," said the girl. "What kind of price did you have in mind?" She did not know if she should trust the little stranger. "What you give must be important to you," said the imp. "How about that necklace?" Little girl thought, "Indeed, my necklace is very dear to me. It was a gift from my mother a long time ago before she passed. But I do not value it as much as my own life and freedom." So she said to the imp, "Very well, if by morning you can turn this room full of straw into gold, I will give you the necklace." And the little man got to work. Very busy he was all night long, whir, whir, whir at the spinning wheel, until morning. By then not one piece of straw was left in the room. All of it had been turned into piles of pure gold thread. "You did it," said the girl. "Of course I did it," said the imp. "Now hand over that necklace." "A deal is a deal," said the girl. She took off the necklace and gave it to him, and he walked around the first pile of gold thread and was gone. The king stepped into the room and was very glad. "Look at that," he said, running the gold thread through his fingers. "It's pure gold." "Yes," said the girl. "Now, if you please, your highness, I would like to go home now." "Oh, not so fast," said the king, who never let go of a treasure once he had found it. "I will have my servants bring new straw and fill a room larger than this one, and you will stay there tonight, and by morning all the straw must be spun into gold if you value your life." "But I already—" said the girl. "No buts about it," said the king, and he left, slamming the door behind him. It locked with a click. "Oh," the girl called out, "I was lucky last night, but I'm sure the little man will not come again." "Who says?" said a voice, and the girl turned, and before her was the little old man again. "I will do the job for you tonight," said the imp, "but you must give me that ring on your finger." "Well, I've always loved this ring," thought the girl, "but after all, it is just a ring." "All right," she said to the imp, "it's a deal." So that night, when she was escorted into the other room completely filled with straw from floor to ceiling, the little imp followed her in from nowhere and sat at the spinning wheel and spun the straw all night into gold. and by morning nothing but piles of spun gold thread lay on the floor. The girl gave the ring to the imp, as she said she would do, for a deal was a deal. The next morning the girl felt so sure that the king would be happy he would let her go home. But alas, if 2 rooms of gold look good to a greedy king, 3 rooms of gold look even better. The king took the girl to the biggest room yet. He had already filled it with straw. He told her that she must turn that straw into gold by morning, or else. But this time the king said his son was coming back from a long journey. In the morning he would send his son to the room to see if the work was done, and if it was, she would be rewarded by marrying the prince. The king thought, even if she is a miller's daughter, I could not find a better wife for my son. She is resilient and calm and hard-working, and she can spin straw into gold. But he told the girl in a loud booming voice, if she could not do the task, she would marry no one at all, and would die. The king left, and the girl fell into a deep gloom. How long could this go on? Would she ever get out and go home? And she lifted her head. There was the little man again, sitting on the big pile of straw. I bet you knew I would come back, he said, looking at his nails. I could not know for sure, said the girl, but this time I have given you all my jewelry and have nothing left for you. I cannot pay you anything else. We would find a good price, said the imp. And he went to work, spinning the straw into gold. Stop, begged the girl, please, I have nothing left to give you. But the imp did not stop. He worked all night long. Though the girl waved and begged him to stop hour after hour, it was no use, and by morning the job was done. There, said the imp, all done. Now I will tell you my price. But that's not fair, said the girl. Lots of things are not fair, said the imp with a shrug. Did you value your life? She sighed and said, very well. What is your price? Nothing right now, he said, but later, if you become queen, I would like your firstborn child. What, said the girl in fear? I can't imagine I would ever be queen, but even if I were, I would never have agreed to such a thing. But you already have, said the imp. The straw is spun into gold, and the deal is made. And he was gone. While the girl was still flabbergasted, a moment later a young man stepped into the room. Miss, are you all right? He asked. I know how harsh my father can be. That is true, she said, and she smiled. The young man seemed very different from his father. When I am king, he said, I will not rule as cruelly as he does. He looked around and saw the large piles of gold shining on the floor. How could you do such a thing? He said in wonder. The girl said nothing. I was told that if the straw was spun into gold by this morning, you would marry me. But know this, if you really want to get out of here, I will help you. And do not worry, I will find a way to tell my father. This young man was very different, and the girl wished to get to know him better. The two stayed in the room and talked about all sorts of things, their foolish fathers, the spinning into gold, and how they would rule and change things in the future. And before long they had fallen in love, and he asked her to marry him, and the girl said yes. The two were married, and it was not long after the wedding when the terrible old king had passed away, and the prince became king and the miller's daughter became queen. In time, the new queen had a baby of her own, a young son, and joy filled the palace, until one day when the queen was alone in her sitting room, all of a sudden the imp walked out from behind her chair and stood before her. Give me what you promised, said the imp, pointing at the baby, right now. I never promised it, said the queen. She held her baby tightly. I will give you gold, more gold than you have ever seen. What would I need gold for, said the little man. I can make all the gold I want. Well, I will give you a castle, said the queen. I come and go as I wish, said the imp. What would I want with a castle? I will give you servants to take care of you, begged the queen. No one takes care of me, said the imp. No one knows who I am. I can find out who you really are, said the queen. Oh, really, said the imp, for he knew no one on earth knew his true name. Very well, he said with a smile. I enjoy games. I will give you 3 days. And after 3 days, if you cannot tell me my true name, the baby is mine. But if you guess my name, you can keep the baby for all I care. No one must know about this. If you say but one word of it to everyone, the baby will be gone forever." 3 days was a long time to come up with a lot of names, thought the queen, and so she agreed. The next day the queen wrote a very long list of every name she could think of. That night, in the baby's bedroom, the imp appeared before her. "Well?" he asked in a quiet voice. The queen read the whole list of names one by one. "Could your name be Nathan?" she asked. "Lucas, Jacob, Hugo, Felix, Oliver, and as you can imagine, any other names too." So many names that she was gone half the night reading her list. "Not even close," laughed the imp. "See you tomorrow." And he was gone. The next day the queen looked through every book in the library. She found names from faraway places, names she had never heard of. And that night when the imp appeared, the queen read her list. "Perhaps your name is Maximilian," she said. "How about Gunnar, Alfonso, Crookshanks, Poindexter, and many more?" "This is boring," said the imp, "but I will not be bored tomorrow night. The third night is when the baby is mine." He laughed again, and he was gone. On the third day the queen did not know what to do. She wanted to tell her husband her woes, but she dared not, for she feared the imp would be listening. She walked to one side of the room, then back again, back and forth, over and over. "This does not help a thing," she said. She put on her royal cape and hood and walked out of the castle. "If I have peace and quiet, maybe I will think of something," she thought. The queen went deep into the woods and followed a brook towards a big lake, and went past the lake to a deep forest hidden in the darkness, where sometimes the swallows sang. All of a sudden the queen saw the light of a fire far away, and there was a voice that was hard to make out, but there was something familiar about that voice. She stepped closer. At last, there in front of the fire danced a little man. It was the very same imp. Very quietly the queen listened, and the man danced and sang. "Tonight, tonight, my plans I make. Tomorrow, tomorrow, the baby I take. The queen will never win our game, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name." "Rumpelstiltskin," whispered the queen. That night, when Rumpelstiltskin appeared, the queen went through more names. "Is your name Yusuf? Or how about Solomon?" "No, 1,000 times no," said the imp. "You're wasting my time. I will give you one more guess, and that is the end." "Well, I'm sure that's not right. But could your name be Rumpelstiltskin?" "Rumpelstiltskin!" yelled the imp. "The devil told you! The devil told you! How could you know?" He was so mad that he stamped and stamped and stamped his feet, and he stamped them so hard that a big hole opened in the ground, and he fell right down into it, and Rumpelstiltskin was never seen again. But the queen lived happily with her husband and her baby ever after. The end.